thanks for coming. This is an event, a panel discussion organized by the Malta Humanist Association. We are being hosted by the Valletta Local Council in these new premises. As a Malta Humanist Association, for those who are not too familiar with them, we promote education and rationality, opposing to superstition, and we like to also move with times. And that's why we are discussing tonight AI. And we hope to have an interesting discussion. I'll keep my introduction very short. And we hope to go beyond science fiction and get more on the rational side of things. So I will leave to our moderator, Claudia. Up to you. Thank you.
So thank you, James. Welcome, everybody. So my name is Claudia Borg. I work as a lecturer with the Department of Artificial Intelligence at the University of Malta. I specialize in a field called natural language processing, which deals with processing of human language, obviously looking at software and applications, so any language interface, being voice, text, and the aspect of understanding that language from a computational perspective is what I do. Of course, this means that I'm active in research in AI, machine learning, and so on. And when James and Chris approached me to actually moderate this event, I was quite intrigued, and I immediately said yes, because there are certain questions that I myself as a researcher have. I'm always continuously asking myself, okay, where are we going? What are we doing with the things that we are creating? What are the implications? And I hope that we can discuss this in a friendly way and see where this will take us. So I'd like to introduce the panel. Today we have with us Dr. Jackie Mallia. She's a lawyer specializing in IT. I'll let them introduce themselves a bit more in detail. Dr. Antonio Ghio as well, again, lawyer and specializing again in IT. Jean-Michel Azzopardi, working in IT startups, venture capital, that type of thing.
Cybersecurity.
Cybersecurity, that's right. That's right. And finally, Matthew Pulis, who is from the Department of Theology.
Studying there, yes.
Okay, and again, each one of you is going to bring a different perspective. So one thing I would love to start with is your perspective of what AI is and how it impacts you and how you come, whether you are in touch with AI on a daily basis, like at a personal level. So maybe you can start.
Sure. So would you like to introduce yourself?
As well, yes, please.
Okay, so as Claudia said, my name is Jackie Mallia. I'm a lawyer by profession. I'm working mostly freelance. My specialization is IT law. I was recently involved in the Maltese national Maltese strategy. So part of the task force that drew up the strategy as well as the ethical framework. And that's pretty much it from my end in terms of who I am. Now, yes, I mean, I think that we are all using AI on a daily basis, whether we realize it or not. Everybody is kind of in touch to some extent with the technology. In my case specifically, other than sort of usual cases of Spotify, Amazon, and so on and so forth, as are kind of obvious examples. There are also, as a lawyer, for example, a number of programs that I sometimes use, for example, in terms of contract drafting and review and so on, which is pretty much on the lines of what you do. You know? So it's very much a language analysis type of situation. What AI means to me, I mean, definitely something that we will be looking at in the future. Definitely will be part of our everyday life, I'm sure. But also, I see AI as mostly as a tool that can help us to be better in sort of, the way we take decisions, more efficient, faster, but definitely not a replacement of the human element in any way. So that's my answer.
I destroyed my first computer when I was 7, then for the lack of choices I ended up in law. When I started doing information technology law, people thought I was crazy. It was like 1999 before Google was born. And things changed quite drastically from there. I'm a partner as Fennec and Fennec, dealing with technology, media, and telecoms. And I lecture IT law at university and cybercrime. What else do I do? And I'm the president of the Malta IT Law Association. I think, as Jackie said, AI is all around us. Sometimes we don't even know. Alexa's here in my office all the time. I don't really play FIFA much on PlayStation, but I do F1, so again, AI is there. If I had to define AI, again, my take would be that AI is everything we haven't done so far, but once it becomes ubiquitous, again, voice recognition, we tend to say it's not AI at all, it becomes a normal part of technology. Again, definitely AI is the future. I don't have any crystal ball to say what the future will bring, but definitely many people say we need to be careful. Again, in the introduction, you're thinking about rationalism, it's one of the points you normally discuss. I think two lawyers, again, to talk rationally, I think is going to be a challenge. But we'll do our best to see where this takes us.
Hi guys, I'm Jean. I'm not a lawyer. I am a techie by trade. I think I had the same kind of experience at 7, more or less. In fact, I can still kind of hear my dad's screams reverberating in my brain. Don't touch that! Like, it just stuck. Anyway, now I run a cybersecurity startup with focus in the blockchain space. That's like where we really kind of eye on. And that being said, we do a little bit of work with banks and governments and fintech, etc. Yada yada. Anyway, as far as AI goes, it's not the future, it's the present, that's my opinion. It's been around for a while. In fact, last week I spoke at a conference and I was having lunch with a guy who got his PhD in AI 45 years ago. It was a really interesting lunch, actually. I'm very afraid of AI, actually. I mean, okay, I'm in security, so I'm kind of like extra paranoid, which is fine. But I think with any new kind of tech, the ways that the tech can be used are yet to be seen. So if you take like the really simplest of examples, which would be fire, which would be when man discovered fire. So the first man realized that fire can be used to, I don't know, provide light and provide heat and provide warmth, and then somebody burnt his hand there and they realized it can be weaponized. And AI is very much the same thing. You can use AI as a weapon, which is the Chinese government. A very good example. So yeah, AI scares me. It excites me, and I think we can find some kind of harmony and equilibrium, and we'll be in a good place. Very doubtful. That's my perspective.
Hi, I'm Matthew. I'm a priest. before entering the seminary, I was working in IT. Nowadays, looking back, I realized that I used to work on AI projects without kind of, back then it was just normal processing and kind of BTs and whatnot, but now with all these fancy names, it became known as AI. So it's kind of my tech experience with AI. Nowadays, kind of my doctoral research is more into gaming and the effects on kind of on social science, kind of on youths and how their persona is being translated on their avatar. So that's kind of my concern at the moment. But on this side, I'm trying to research the effects of AGI, especially in artificial general intelligence, more than the actual narrow AI. I'm much more kind of interested into the super intelligent part from a philosophical point of view, existential and the likes. Now, my definition of AI, I think, just to build on the previous three answers, probably would be also more the likes of an opportunity. I think, yes, we are in the period of probably the next era of humanity, but more in the sense that we need to be alert to augment ourselves and not to give agency to something which is of our creation. So I think it's more about we getting augmented and more about the idea of looking ecologically, so power is shared rather than just making a tool and kind of giving it agency by itself. Also, I really like that quote, I think by one of the Google guys, it's AI is 10% good, 10% evil, and the other 80%. So I think we need to discuss those 80%. Because the 10% on each side are quite obvious, kind of medicine usage, take a photo, go to the adoptive, it's good, weaponry is bad, so those are quite clear cut. The 80% is a bit where we need to discuss.
Okay, so in fact, with the 80%, we clearly have downsides and upsides. Yes, there's this. But how do we have the opportunity to actually define AI and its benefits and so on? Are we in a place, maybe even if we just think nationally or globally, where we can actually make that influence to direct where we want to go in terms of AI? Can we...
Do you mean that like from a regulatory standpoint or from the tech standpoint?
Let's say, both regulatory and tech, yes.
I mean, from a regulatory point of view, I think that sort of on a global level, the attitude tends to be, as we were just discussing before, more reactive than preemptive kind of thing, you know. So I think at this stage, so the legislators are not quite sure where the technology can go, and therefore, if you are legislating too early, you might be sort of stifling the development rather than helping it. So there is a little bit of that element. There are a lot of questions which come up, which we will probably discuss later. For example, relating to, let's say, liability. You know, so who's going to be liable for the actions of, you know, this system? I think there's a lot of focus on ethical frameworks more than legislation at this stage. But however, definitely, I mean, I think legislators around the world are asking the questions, and we will start to see bits and pieces of AI legislation here and there. I don't think, Antonio will sort of maybe pitch in on this as well, but I don't see, you know, sort of frameworks that regulate AI per se. I think it will always be more of a you would see sort of piecemeal legislation where you're tackling a particular issue that AI brings about, rather than, sort of to have a framework on AI like we have, for example, for blockchain. But definitely there will be gaps that we will discover as we go along. And I think as Malta, I can say for sure that there is the intention to look at the possibility of those gaps and to try to address them as much as possible. And obviously from an EU point of view as well, there is this move also to have a framework in this respect. So we will be seeing for sure legislation coming up here and there. Whether it will ever catch up with the technology is very doubtful, because it never does. Whether we should legislate early is a very big question again, because, for example, and probably we'll discuss this again in more detail a little bit later, but let's say data protection, GDPR, and there's a lot of questions on, for example, China doesn't have the restriction on GDPR, so is China in a better position to develop AI rather than, for example, Europe? If you're developing in Europe, are you more restricted? All of these questions come up, but then again, do we want to be in a situation where you don't have any control over how the technology develops, So these are all questions that are very difficult for legislators, I think, at this stage.
Okay, and from a technical perspective?
I think the best way to do it would be, I think you made a really interesting point about the idea that we should kind of segregate a legislation in the sense that how AI will affect health, how AI will affect transport, etc.
It should be application driven.
Exactly.
So we're still looking at understanding what the principles are, what the 10 commandments are, not how we apply those 10 commandments or how many they would be in specific applications. We shouldn't look at AI because we can't really define what AI is. We need to do the business applications of what AI can do, AI in health, AI in transport, AI in this and that, and look at that. So again, stupid example. The law says that if I murder someone, it's a crime. Whether I murder using a robot or using my kitchen knife, it's still a crime. So what we're looking at is at the action as opposed to the tool with which the action is committed.
I would think that would be more of like a simple argument. It's like if you murder someone using your robot or a hitman.
So sometimes we try, I believe, that we overcomplicate things, and that is one sure. Especially when lawyers get involved.
Yes. Oh, we do.
So we try to overthink and overcomplicate things, which should be left simple. Again, using or drawing an example with data protection law. Data protection law has been around for quite some time. GDPR, just changed some minor thing, it defines it, etc. But the principles remain.
For sure.
And those principles applied before we had Facebook, before we had Google, before we had broadband connections, and they, because we were looking at the commandments themselves, not the technology which we were using to actually carry out those activities. And again, that's why we talk about ethical guidelines, which is more principle-based, but how you apply those principles in a specific business application, or vertical application is going to be the real trick. Let's look at, for example, the principle of transparency. We always talk about transparency in AI. I should be transparent, I should know what to do, whatever. It's not as simple as that. I should know how the bank, is coming up to an AI-driven decision about my mortgage. But what if the Inland Revenue has AI systems to assist them with tax fraud? If that would be transparent, maybe the systems would understand how to bypass the system. So it has to be on a case-by-case basis. It's going to be completely a complex thing to achieve, to have this AI constitution, so to speak, where all these rules, are put in one basket and applied.
For sure. I mean, I would say there might be a kind of simple framework. Maybe I'm oversimplifying. I don't know. But let's let's take the example of, for example, let's take X-rays. Okay, so let's say you want to use AI to process X-rays to figure out where bones are broken and how bad they're broken, etc. I mean, AI is going to do that in much faster way. It's going to do it in a much more accurate way, in a way that humans can never compete. However, there's still an element of trust there, right? Because we're, at the end of the day, trusting software to be able to take decisions which are going to affect, which are going to have serious repercussions. So I think a sort of simple solution to this, which might apply across the board, would be for any AI project should have to start out in kind of like a hybrid mode where it operates and then everything is kind of checked off by a human. So AI says, okay, bone broken here, and human says yes, okay, done. And you repeat that process 500,000 times, let's say, or over a period of 2 or 3 years, until you've reached a point where you're satisfied with the results of the AI, basically, and you've gone through the majority of use cases that can potentially come up to a point where you're satisfied to say that this AI can run on its own. So
will you just agency and that's it, kind of just, okay, I'm satisfied with the training process and the learning process, job done.
I think it would be down to, I think that should be the responsibility of the institution that's making use of the AI. So the hospital says, listen, I want to automate this entirely, then that's up to them, and whatever decision the AI takes should be under the responsibility of...
But who will be responsible for it?
The hospital, because they are relying on the results of that software.
But I'm sure the lawyers will start jumping, kind of...
I was going to ask about responsibility because there's a lot of...
I was just to reflect a bit further from what I was saying. I think more than we need to see it from a legal perspective, I think we need to see it from an ethical perspective, in the sense that let's use the Hippocratic Oath, which has been with us for centuries. So there, at least there's a philosophy building up, and kind of if you're taking that oath, you know that you're joining the ranks of thousands and thousands of doctors. So why a developer who's creating AI shouldn't be entering into that ethical framework? So rather than we need to follow rules, because rules are never going to you're not going to be safe with all these circumstances, especially with international laws. Kind of, you brought the example of using data from China. Good luck having a blanket law. So rather than trying to agree on legal terms, I think we should go a bit deeper and see it from an ethical perspective. And I'm sure we all agree that if we're producing things, basic human idea of kind of what I'm creating. Is it for the general good? Is it for the common good? Now, okay, you might be thwarted and you know it's wrong, but you do it. But kind of that's the evil part. But rather, if we see it from good use AI, I think if we stop and reflect before actually starting off a project, will this benefit the common good? I think it's much easier to develop rather than try to legalize.
But isn't good subjective?
Yes, but I'm sure there is a basic good which we all...
I think that trustworthiness is more subjective than non-benevolence. Yes. So when we say trustworthy AI, it's a question of, but trust, the question that I trust someone or I trust something doesn't mean that what I'm trusting is good. Now, again, I think the point should be that AI should be non-benevolent and doing good. Now we can enter into more philosophical discussions of what good is, but I think we should move away from the trust element, because that is definitely very subjective. And look again, and let's assume we all agree of what good is. That we are using something as a tool, to be better and to do good. And I think generally there is an agreement there that we should use AI to do good. But then we need to also factor in that at the moment we are in a phase where we're still talking about AI is learning, we're giving it 1,000 text traces, it learned, and now we can say, okay, go and do it on your own, fine. But very soon, or already, we're in a phase where we're not thinking about learning, we're thinking about thinking. Where something artificial is not only learning, which is a repetitive process. You can learn chess, you can beat Kasparov, you can Go. Which is, but when we're looking at the real AI challenges, in my opinion, is this shift to thinking, this shift from our brain, which is something which can be replicated, in bits and bytes and silicon, as opposed to something which is called the mind, and that's where the consciousness and the goodness of things comes. Definitely, if we are venturing into that kind of territory, lawyers, definitely or should take a step back. But I think those are where the challenges lie. It's simple to say, okay, murder is a criminal offense. Murder is bad. So you shouldn't kill people. But I think that the question should be: should we produce technology or produce AI which eventually, either consciously or unconsciously, or without our input, would end up with killing people? So we need to be careful. We're creating this, I would say, Frankenstein at the end of the day. I always in my first lecture of my first year law students, this is what I bring up. There is an interesting play by a guy called Karel Čapek. It was published 99 years ago, 1920. And it's called Rossum's Universal Robots. And it was the first time we heard about the term robots, which is the Czech version of serf. Okay, so someone who is there to serve us. And Rossum, which is a play with the word reason. And basically, to cut a long story short, the play ends where these robots basically kill all humans but one. Not something which started as a serf, someone who would help us with our chores, with our work, etc., takes over. And I think the biggest challenge or dilemma will be how we can stop something which will eventually, with computing technology, etc., will take over. So, singularity, will happen. It's just not a question of if, it's just a question of when. And whether we are prepared, to rein it back and keep control. Something which I think has been mentioned by others is the fact that when we're talking about AI, it has to be human-centric. So whatever we do, it should be there as a robot, as a serf, to serve us. But we end up, as we get all excited with what technology can do, without quantum computing, etc. That's, we need to take stock and say, where do we want this to go? Because it will definitely, at some point, it will, again, with singularity, it will just explode, this intelligence explosion. And
that is, I think, where then the regulation comes in, because then it's the regulation that sort of needs to control and to rein in how far it's going to go and to what extent.
One of the problems we can argue is that if regulation is only a reactive process, so first the technology is happening and then the regulation comes in, the regulation might be coming in a bit too late. So there's always this balance between the technology, its pace, and when regulation comes in. It's still a big question mark when we will reach singularity. I think it's more important maybe to focus on what we have right now, because what we have right now and what we are facing right now as well, sometimes we lack regulation.
I think there is a fine line between over-regulation, which is a risk,
Yes.
with stifling innovation, and misregulation, which is almost just as bad.
And maybe as well lack of enforcement, because sometimes we have, you mentioned yourself.
A thousand examples where AI is not enforced, humans are only enforced.
No, but in the sense you mentioned yourself, for instance, GDPR was in a way already there.
It's a question of understanding
what Cambridge Analytica,
what the principles are. I think we're still at a phase where we were with data protection law in 1968, when there was the young report coming out with the data protection principle and saying, okay, to process personal data, you need consent.
Yes.
Very simple, one line without having, pages and pages of law. So I think it's more of a question of focusing on what the principles are, and the ethical guidelines are trying to achieve that. So I think we're on the right track, that we're not trying to over-regulate or misregulate, but just focusing on what the principles should be. We can discuss, whether AI should be transparent. We agree, potentially it's a very good principle, but it cannot be absolute. But we need to do something. Now, how do we apply those ethical guidelines, which are not listed in a law saying, if you break this law, you go to jail and you have to pay 20 million euros or whatever it is. Again, I think the discussion is still too early to arrive to get kind of framework.
Exactly, because when you have ethical guidelines, it's not a law, so the enforceability issue comes up. There are a set of principles, they are there. For example, let's say in Malta, they are tied to the certification of AI systems, but a certification is optional, you don't have to do it. And therefore, obviously, you've got a set of principles which if you are operating, developing, so on in Malta, you have to kind of abide by, but then if you don't, what's going to happen really, So there's a lot of these questions, definitely. And even as we're saying, for example, GDPR in itself, for example, addresses these issues of, how far kind of is this going to go, to what extent are we going to allow the technology to take decisions for us, because there are specific provisions. There's this, for example, this Article 22 of the GDPR, which specifically states that if, any system is going to take a decision that is going to significantly affect a human being, there always needs to be the possibility to understand how the decision was taken and to challenge it. So these aspects are already there. So the reason as well why law is kind of reactive a little bit is because there are already laws in place that are tackling certain aspects of the issues that arise. But then, as Antonio is saying, at the point in time when things start to develop to the extent where the system is taking decisions on its own, and then everything comes into question, or the legislation comes into question, because how are you going to regulate these decisions that are taken by?
It's just a question. Let's call it a new technology. If I can, we had the same issue some years back with cloud computing. We need new laws for cloud computing. And then, people started realizing the laws are already there. The technology changed. They were still doing the same thing.
Applications they are different.
I know, but you need to see it, at the application level. If a human was looking at an X-ray, and now we have an AI looking at an X-ray, we're still looking at an X-ray using a different tool.
I see your point.
So at the end of the day, if we are, again,
from a legal perspective, the laws are there.
I'm not saying that all laws are there, that we are, covering all the bases, but it's not a question that's going to have a revolution again, I'm putting aside, you know, whether we're giving personality or giving this kind of
Yes,
rights.
yes.
So we'll discuss that later on. But again, from an application level, you know, we are building AI systems to help us improve, you know, our processes. Okay. So far, we're not thinking about new processes that you know we're not trying to improve. So if those processes are already there, and 90% or 95% of the processes are very well regulated, using another tool to carry out that process, and putting the human aside or putting the human at the final part of the process, you know, the process is already there, and regulating that process probably is already in place.
You mentioned human-centric AI. I think we should extend it to humanity-centric AI, which is different. Because human, it might sidetrack us on actually looking at the individual, which I think, having read the task force, ethics, whatever, draft, whatever, at times it was putting the individual and the companies as the main agents, but the community was never mentioned. And even in the high-level European whatever you've been doing, at times they mention it in passing, the common good. But if we look at humanity-centered AI, then we're always looking at it from the least of society, from an ecological point of view, from who's going to suffer most, because sometimes we tend to see who's going to gain most, but we need to shift our attention not to continue separating the top brass from the bottom. And also, I think rather than looking at it from a legal perspective, we need to look at it from a pedagogical perspective, in the sense that we tend to see how we're going to regulate all the time. But let's say, for example, GDPR, how many of us pay attention to the consent checkboxes? Yes, carry on. I mean, I was surprised as I was preparing for this panel. I met a research paper. 14% of Americans do not know that their web history is traceable. 25% don't know that data they put on social media gets back to them. 25%.
Probably 80% don't even know that the NSA exists or what it does. Even 90.
Yeah, I mean, so as you're pleased, we're happy that, okay, data's safe because there's GDPR. I mean, it's for decades. Yes, carry on. Get rid of all these boxes. I want to access the website. I want to. So I think the onus should be, first of all, on university, on the ministry, on whatever, on the fact that we need to teach people that data is almost important to our identity. It's part of our being. So we need to know what we're using, because AI without data is nothing. So if we get to the root of make sure that the data that you want to share it, that's already a good step towards an ethical AI or a humanity-centered AI, that especially those unlearned or they don't know the repercussions of their data, at least we get them.
And that's something,
Yes.
I'm sorry, which you can solve with a blockchain, for example. You can have self-sovereign identity with different layers of information, say like personal information, family relations, health information, blah blah blah, and you can choose which application you want to give which rights access to. So that would be like a really good solution of how you want to share your data. You're the one that owns it and who's using it. But that's I think part of the issue.
But you're seeing it from a very technical
and legal as well, because I own the data.
Okay, in that sense, yes, but kind of you're seeing it. There is ethics, and almost ethics is a problem. in the sense that how from a technocratic paradigm we're going to fix it. Whereas we need to see it more from a holistic perspective in the sense that ethics, since we're children, we need to be taught that yes, data is as important as your own identity, because this is your identity in effect. So rather than just, okay, we need to, there's this problem, how we're going to fix it technocratically, I think it's much deeper, it's much more rooted.
But when it comes in relation to the data, sometimes we don't know that our data is being collected. It's like we don't even have the option to consent to that collection. So for instance, CCTV, the usual simple example. How is that going to impact? And from so these points that you're
mentioning.
CCTV,
there are clear rules. There are cameras, there should be a notice, blah, blah, blah. But going back, let's try and bridge data and AI, or the Cambridge Analytica. They were harvesting all this data, using a lot of algorithms, to analyze all these, I think, 4,000 data points about individuals and the friends, the people who carried out this game or whatever it's called, which again, they didn't even know that their personal data was being processed, which is already unknown. But the bigger problem was that the data was being used to profile the individuals. This is where AI comes in. I think there is a lot of similarities when it comes to the basic principles between data protection law and, let's call it AI law, consent, transparency, proportionality. So typically, if we had to do a checklist between the data protection principles and the AI principles, probably many of them already. But yes, there is this concept in German constitutional law called information and self-determination, whereby if the data relates to me, if the information relates to me, I should be the one who determines what is done or what can be done and cannot be done with it. Now, whether it's privacy and data protection is a human right, we all know that no human right is absolute, so there are exceptions, to the principle of self-determination. But I think the challenge is where to draw the line. What shall we use to balance it? Whether it should be humanity AI, something which is going to be to the benefits, of the common good. Recently, I think last week I was reading about this philosopher Peter Singer. And incredibly, he was talking about sentience or what establishes consciousness, whether, an animal has rights, whether we should give robot rights, incredible stuff. And someone asked him, but if we develop this superhuman AI, which potentially one, and this superhuman AI decides that for the benefit of the common good, since we've destroyed this planet, in the past 3,000 years, and we keep on doing it for on a daily basis, irrespective of the laws and the population. It might make sense, for the planet, just to kill, the human race. The human race, the super intelligent AI will devise its very human pill, which we swallow, and we move on, in a very humane way, and humanity will. So again, when we're putting humanity in the picture, it's a quite tricky business, because it might, it's all abstract and philosophical, etc., but we might end up in a situation where we say, or consciousness or the common good would say, that the human race should be wiped out. And now it's up to us again, or the lawyers or the legislators, etc. We might say, okay, but that's something that we want to avoid. We'd rather kill our planet ourselves than a different entity, take care of it.
But then that brings about the question, what is the common good then? The common good of whom,
Yeah, of course.
Is it of the planet? Is it of the humanity?
This is always one of the problems in terms of how we frame things. I'd like to turn to the audience, to the public, and see if you'd like to ask questions to our panelists at this stage. Yes, can you tell us your name?
I'm Christopher Pulis. You mentioned that when data has been collected, the person should know, and there should be methods how to tell the person that data has been collected. That's not really the problem. The problem is when, for someone to use a service, they have to relinquish their data. So, for example, CCTV. Okay, I commute between Rabat and Mashhad. I think there are more than 20 CCTV cameras, traffic management CCTV cameras. I don't have any other alternative route to get to Mashhad without being monitored. So, okay, I know that I'm being monitored. Thank you. So,
let me add to that. Again, I think the legal answer would be those rights are not absolute, so there are exceptions. So, okay, I want to open a bank account, but I cannot open a bank account if I would divulge and share certain personal data. So not a question of consent, that I consent, but the question that it's part and parcel of the service. It's based on consent. You cannot have one without the other. Imagine you have a 2-year Valletta agreement, fixed. 6 months down the line, you want to shift to go and tell them, no, I want to stop my processing of personal data. Stop. Again, it's based on consent. You cannot do it. But let's look at the example you gave. There are exceptions as far as public security, public safety is concerned, legitimate interest of the controller, of proper traffic management, which I all accept. What I don't accept is that about a month ago or 6 weeks ago, in the press there is MOU reached between Transport Malta and Malta Police, where police will have direct access to those CCTV cameras. I immediately called the Data Protection Commissioner, immediately. And they didn't know anything about it. Nothing. Fine. I wrote to the
guy is absolutely brainless, by the way.
No, I wouldn't say that. To the Data Protection Officer of Transport Malta, and I listed, I don't know how many questions, some of them tricky questions. It was worse than an assignment. And the only place where I could find where Transport Malta are processing my data and explaining to me what they do was a very simple website privacy policy where they didn't even bother to change Transport Malta with insert your company name. Let alone how they are sharing data with the police and forward. So again, there should be transparency, so you should explain the privacy policy what you're doing. There are exceptions where you have to pass certain information to the police, but not giving, a direct access to the police for the police to do anything. So there are specific laws related to processing of personal data to the police. Up to this very day, 6 weeks later, I'm still awaiting for the answers from Transport Malta. So again, I wouldn't hold my breath on that. But you are completely right. But if you had to pass from Rabat to Valletta, and you know that there are X amount of cameras, and you don't have any other option, I would tell you, but if Transport Malta have to have those cameras for traffic management, so perhaps we can reduce our traffic problem, and they resolve it because they have CCTV. I say, that's a price I would love to pay. But the thing is that it has to be transparent. You have to tell me what you're doing with it, and I'm ready to divest myself with a small amount of my privacy to live better.
Yes, but traffic management, you don't need data, you just need real-time data. Count how many cars are loaded in a street and drop down and don't report anything.
But security,
Yeah,
but there's no traffic management.
For security, for how long that the CCTV data is being kept. It should be stated clearly in their privacy policy, and it's not. But again, there are systems, and I think there was a mention recently, even locally, that they are thinking of having a pilot project with traffic management and cameras and traffic lights. Something which has been done already abroad.
Yes, in Singapore, there's a very good.
And I'm sure it will help. But as long as I know that, okay, this camera, which is very powerful, is being used only to feed the algorithm to tell you when the light should go red, amber, green, and potentially blue. And that's it. It's not a question that, okay, now the police, can say, okay, let me see what's happening here and there.
Supposing you have a high crime area, where the police need to monitor a high crime area, do they have a right to go to live in enough other acts to, after all, you're protecting the public, aren't you? It's a very high crime area. It happens abroad.
Even if it's not just high crime, but at least they should be upfront with it. This is not traffic management system, this is surveillance.
Again, on surveillance, London is full and rife of CCTV. But in the UK, they have a specific commissioner for CCTV, a specific commissioner looking solely and purely on CCTV, and pages upon pages of guidelines, and rules and regulations. In Malta, we have nothing of that. So again, I would say, as long as we have the proper balances, and the proper guarantees that things are being done right, I would say yes, But looking again, I don't want to sound political, but a few years ago we heard about we're going to start a pilot project about facial recognition in high crime areas, Pachamil or Marsa or whatever it is. Without even having a single line of principles of guidelines or regulation of how it will work. And that is the risk. That when we're talking about technology can do so many pixie dust things, and it will never be stopped. And I don't have a problem with that. But if it's going to affect me, at least I expect that some principles and some rules are already established. I don't expect Transport Malta signing an MOU with Malta Police and the IDPC don't even know about it. I'm saying that something is not quite right there.
Unfortunately, elections have been
and it's good that we're discussing, about regulating AI and having these ethical frameworks of AI, because probably I would be the first one to say, we have this position as a country about AI, where we want to attract investment and attract business, etc., but at least apply that same rule if you want to put facial recognition,
apply the same principles to government, basically.
How was there an uproar about that specifically though? Doesn't that blow your mind? Isn't the idea of privacy something that's like people say that they like to think is important, but it's just not really? Like I would just say something about that. One of the instigators behind GDPR was the situation that arose with Facebook in 2011, whereby the sharing of your public profile and photos and pictures or whatever, the default there was public. Again, it was a no-no, and Zuckerberg came out and said, and
probably he was right, that privacy is a dying social norm. We don't care anymore whether you're sharing this with whoever in the world. You just like to put things on Facebook, on Instagram, and expect that you have, X amount of likes, and the way in which we feel as humans, dependent on how many likes we have, to a picture of my cat or a picture of my 3-year-old son, touching the cat or
So, we have a lot of questions here. So, okay, let's go with you.
Talking about social media, does school do anything about setting these things up here in Malta? You can set up your Facebook account to be private, and even more, you can privatize your stuff. Does high school or university do anything about it here in Malta?
Anything about it in what sense?
To educate it, yes.
I'm not sure.
Because I'm not from Malta, I'm from the Netherlands, and this is something that we were taught when I was in high school. And since we're talking about AI, this is quite something important that actually needs to be taught to, especially teenagers, because there are so many people who don't even know that everything is public. And
I don't know if you have any educators and any teachers in the room.
There is actually something that's being done by the government called cyber awareness, something being handled by Meta. And in fact, as far as kids go and high schoolers go, essentially they go into school and they host a little play and they sort of explain the seriousness and the importance of their data and how it can be used against them. So there is an incentive that started, I think, at the beginning of last year. So there's something just being done. It's slow and painful, but it's happening.
Shouldn't this be IT class? To be honest, it should.
For sure.
It should be part of the, let's say, normal education that
Maybe it should be more.
It's a very bad
I think there is,
point.
if we look, there is something which is structured and organized and it's on the syllabus or agenda somewhere. Again, I am not aware of it, but
Yeah.
we hope it is.
We don't have the answer here, but it could be that there is some.
At least do something about it, because teenagers need to be taught.
Let's go on to another question.
Just to answer
Yes,
him,
okay.
there is something that's being done by the Malta Communications Authority. Wait for some years, and they have something about it.
There is Smart Online.
Exactly, it's part of Smart Online.
I don't think it quite hits exactly what the gentleman is saying. I mean, in the sense that I think it is very, because I don't think any of us, unless we're really cybersecurity experts, I don't think we realize exactly how much data we're actually giving up all the time. And my comment sort of to you was going to be, I mean, I understand that sort of, you're saying, okay, I'm driving here and there are so many CCTV cameras and whatever. This is all a matter of privacy, and privacy, as we're saying, is not absolute. So when you're in a public place, the expectation of privacy, you expect it to be diminished because you're in a public place, right? And we're sort of, okay, we don't want to give up this data, what we're driving, whatever. But at the same time, we're giving up everything about ourselves on Facebook,
Exactly.
And on
everything, but everything, not it's different.
That is true, but are you aware of exactly what you are giving?
Personally, yes.
I was mentioning CCTV cameras, just an example. There are no other situations where you're trying to use a system online.
Of course, no,
Okay?
I understand.
You're trying to do something, but you can't if you don't relinquish your data, which shouldn't be necessary for that.
We are now looking at a situation where we're monetizing our privacy. Where, in order for me to obtain a service, I need to give away part of my privacy. unfortunately, we're monetizing it.
It's not really unfortunate. It's
But
business.
again, exactly. No. Again.
If something is free, you want the product. That's how it works.
We're realizing it now.
Sometimes even if you pay.
Let's have a question from this gentleman.
My name is Mark. I recently came across an article whereby it's very clear about the ethical considerations. Probably everyone heard about it, where Amazon has implemented this system whereby it tracks the performance of its workers and can automatically fire on the spot its worker. So this is actually a very fine line where I think we've crossed the border. But however, it might be the case whereby this will become acceptable in the future since Amazon and other big companies are implementing it. And so this is, for me, it's like a big critical point. And we've heard a lot of points, and rightly so, concerning AI. But this is, my point is, there's a lot to be said about this topic, whereby there's self-autonomy. We're not killing people directly. But if someone gets fired, which might lead to a suicide, which might lead to a killing of a person.
I can give another example. I think that the project was called Campus in the United States. I can't remember where, the United States, whereby AI was being used to decide basically whether a person should get a suspended sentence or not, using AI. And it was so racially biased because the information it landed on was biased. That if you're black, okay?
There's a high probability you go to jail.
A similar case.
Google systems that went down because of bias.
Last week Amazon was involved also because they were checking how some CVs would pass to the second stage of interviews.
No.
And they started realizing women were not passing to the second interview. The problem is the AI was fed the current situation of Amazon. So most women wouldn't make it, so the AI just said, okay, let's not just put them to the second. And this is the problem of AI when it's a black box. And kind of we hinted at it earlier on.
Was it no women or some?
Some women. But kind of the percentage was much smaller. But kind
what
of
was the job title?
No, in general. It was in general.
HR.
Like overall, the percentage was.
I find it a bit hard to believe. Maybe it's just me, but I mean, like basic AI, I know if you're recruiting for IT, for example, the pool of men available versus the pool of women available is going to be much higher.
No, this was across the board. Kind of employees, Amazon employees. It was an HR.
So it was like, regardless of industry, for example, it was every single
Amazon.
It depends on how those issues are like great clickbait material. They really are. And you have to kind of like see things a little bit, maybe these guys are just, a news site that are trying to get clicks to display ads. And it's like, articles can be so misleading. They really can. And I haven't read this personally, and I'm not saying that that's what you're saying isn't true. I'm just saying that there's so many ulterior motives out there that sometimes information you read, well, most of the time information you read on the internet actually, if it's something like that.
What is the issue you're finding, kind of?
For example, it could be a simple site, well, news. Look at news and media, right? You can spin an article which has the exact same meaning, and you can spin something in one way, and you can have a completely different meaning. But at the end of the day, the reality of the situation was completely fine. So let's say for example, this AI tool pushed much more men to the second stage of the interview versus women. Again, it could be because the potential pool of male candidates it was just a bigger male pool, which is very normal in the STEM.
However, I think we can can agree that in general, with machine learning and bias in data, it is something that we have to live with.
And we realize backwards.
Yeah, it happened in so many cases.
But this is where the law should come in. Because we know that there are these adverse effects to the common good or to humanity. You know, because we don't have the sufficient valves, you know, in the system to stop this from happening. And there is no law. So, you know, if Facebook, you know, is being used as a platform to disseminate fake news, which it is, you know, should we say no? Social media platforms should have an obligation at law to make sure that they are not spreading false news or fake news. You know, they are already working on it. But at the end of the day, if I am being part of the chain where I'm receiving or carrying information, should I, as a carrier of information, have an obligation at law to check? But listen, are we paying, I don't know how many million to the European Union, and this money can go to the NHS? You know, so many important things which make such a huge difference. You know, in the Trump election, in the Brexit referendum, which basically were based, in my opinion, feel free to agree, on fake news.
Yes.
You know, and I think we can find AI solutions, you know, to make sure that this thing can be at least addressed or reduced or minimized. But, you know, the real question is, should social media platforms have an obligation, you know, again, through the use of AI, to make sure that this doesn't happen?
Isn't it just abusing AI? Isn't it just abusing AI?
Oh, well, of course, if you look at Cambridge Analytica and stuff, of course.
Same thing as with, you were talking about it before with X-ray scans. And going back to your questions, shouldn't these jobs just be human beings? Because if you're going to have a look in economical point of view, if you're going to replace all these jobs with AI, robots, or whatever, you're going to have poor people everywhere around the world because the only job...
different jobs, it's the same argument.
No, I think it ties up what was said before. It's that jobs will be, let me use the word lost. Jobs will be lost because AI makes things much more efficient. I think the trick is that the efficiency gain and the profits gain should be shared in a proper way.
How are they going to share it?
AI tax, robot
that's
tax.
something else.
But then eventually you end up with people with no jobs.
But you also create higher quality jobs because these robots need to be serviced and this AI is already taken.
What would you prefer? Having no job and still getting a salary?
So I would prefer to work for my money, yes.
No, I would prefer staying at home, but I know that robots are but I'm still getting a remuneration and I'm still having a good
But it's more than just getting a salary.
No, of course.
That as well. You kind of, but it's all we want.
Yeah, but if I can
Listen, instead of a job, for being paid for a job, you have a salary, and then you can have hobbies, you can read.
So
what we're mentioning here.
Yes, of course.
So
the government is going to
If it's going to be used in this way, I mean, then you can have hobbies, you can have, you can do basically what you want. Then it's catering for the common good. So that's positive, I think.
And so the idea
if you're going to be paid and your work is going to be done for something else, then it's positive. I mean, you can have.
Let me make a very simple example.
If you have
My company or a company currently employs 150 people, okay? We develop or license or buy AI, which would make those 150 people redundant. But the company decides that the profit is still going to be shared
by everyone.
As if there are still 150 people.
In the ideal world.
But listen, you can research, you can read, you can study. That should be ideal.
The idea, we've gone in total chaos here. To mention money and that's it, we lose everyone.
As long as everyone, there won't be a division between the rich and the poor.
There's
That's it. Even between countries and within the same country, as long as everyone is equal, I'm fine.
When we're talking
That's going to happen more and more.
Okay, at the end of the day, if you have got a tool that can save more lives,
I think when we
better diagnosis, and at the end of the day, give you a better medical result. You know, is that less important than having a job?
I wouldn't trust a robot. No.
Fair enough, but do you trust an X-ray machine?
You don't trust?
You know,
You don't
before
trust a
X-ray
robot?
machines came into effect.
You don't trust your questions.
I don't trust.
So, we're going to take a question from the gentleman
I
over
use
there.
multiple websites to make my own assumption. Yes.
How do you find the websites?
Just Google it. Yeah.
Exactly.
But
You trust a robot to the best results.
because they also share everything that you're looking at.
But you
your
still
location, everything.
But you don't care. Do
I
you use
use it.
VPN?
I use it, but
Do you use
I
VPN?
trust it. I do, yes.
Which one?
So,
Exactly.
can we pass on to another question, please?
I don't want to maybe combine these two arguments, work
Yes.
and AI and everything. I'm a counselor, I'm also a social worker, maybe I look at things even at AI, from the way that it impacts the individual, of how it feels and how it relates with others, based on the impact on the identity that he is not having because of different systems, including AI. Looking at AI and anything in the world, including work, if you look at it from a sociological perspective, and for example from a Marxist perspective, and looking at anything within the society that is generated mainly through capitalism and these big companies and these, you are made to believe that you have to be involved within these systems. So you are made to believe that you have to work in order to feel a sense of identity. You are made to believe that you have to be involved within the social media to feel that you are living and feeling normal. Because if I don't have Facebook, I don't say, I don't have Facebook. If I don't have any application, you're calm. You don't have, you're not using WhatsApp, for example. So my concern, this might be just a passing comment, is okay, we can look at AI and social media from a legal perspective and from the way we should regulate things, but in reality, even if you regulate and we have the choice, we think that you have the choice of using it or not using it. The social system that we are living in, mainly the Western system, is that you do not actually, from a sociological perspective, have the choice not to use it. So,
formal. It's not even formal.
It is. You are made to believe that you cannot choose it. However, you should choose it. You cannot choose it, and if you're not choosing it, you're going to feel that you are an alien within the society.
But at least if you're going to make these basic regulations or law, that at least everyone is equal, it will defeat the purpose.
No, from a social perspective, it's irrelevant that you're choosing to use it because you cannot not use it.
Yeah, I know.
Because if you're not using it, you're going to be left, you're going to be isolated from the society.
Yeah, but if you're going to agree that everyone is going to be equal and everyone has enough to eat,
but these are
and stuff like that. Yeah, but it's important.
It is important. I can
for social
understand
justice,
from a legal perspective, it is important. However, from the way that the and on the society. Therefore, if we try to believe that by giving legal terms to these situations and claiming that now, alright, we all have a choice to use it or not to use it, in reality, what we're living is, we're living in a society that we cannot not choose it. Therefore, if I'm not choosing it, I am becoming an isolated individual and I'm not feeling part of this system. Therefore, AI, working, whatever, but AI has now infiltrated the way that we feel about ourselves and has impacted on our existential.
Yeah, that's true.
Therefore, I appreciate because of course we have to have these legal issues. However, I think it's much broader than that. Much broader than that. And we're not going to tackle that. The sense of identity of the individual, I think it's already a bit lost. But it's going to be lost much more. And I think it's going to have a positive, AI has a positive impact on the community maybe. However, on the individual, I think it has maybe a lot of negative impacts vis-a-vis the way that he can relate with himself as an identity without thinking that all these systems can have an impact on him.
If I can sort of add to your point and make the situation a bit worse, unfortunately, but it's the kind of reality. So I think it was like a month and a half ago, Elon Musk received $1 billion from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation for the Neuralink project, which is basically it's a chip that interfaces with the brain, and like imagine that actually does develop from a tech perspective. It's almost impossible, but it's Elon Musk. So I mean, if someone can figure it out, he will. So imagine that actually becomes a reality, and people have some of these AI chips implanted in their brain. We will reach a point where if you don't have that chip, you will be useless. Because whenever you go for a job, whenever you go for any kind of job interview, the person with the chip is always going to outperform you a million times over. I can't remember what the Hayat 2 weeks ago. This guy is going to tell you when that guy was born, who his mother was, and
again.
But there is a parallel to that. Without, for instance, without an ID, for instance, you can't access certain things. I'm not agreeing with the chip, mind you, but if you think about it, without, for instance, an ID, you can't access services. Check, and you can't turn it.
But again, to tie it all up, again, I don't know how many of you are Netflix freaks. but there is this Black Mirror, and if you watch the first 2 seasons, especially of Black Mirror, you'll understand how right you are, and how right you are. That at the end of the day, if I don't have this system, if I'm not on Facebook, I'm a loser, or how. Again, they take it to an extreme, but using current technology. I need to watch this episode over and over again. But when it comes to AI and consciousness and losing out, there is a specific episode, I think, in season 2, whereby you're seeing this group of friends living the same day over and over again. And they are so happy and having a good time with their friends. And then you realize at the end, that you're just looking at a tiny light on a server somewhere. That those people were all dead. All their consciousness and all their memories, were stored on a server somewhere. And they were living forever. Which is, again, when you think about it, it's so incredible. Imagine that I can call on a server, or instead of looking at Google, I say, okay, hi, what did kiwi taste like in 1952? And I would get an answer from the consciousness or the memory or the intelligence of my grandfather telling me, it was great. So we are touching the tip of the iceberg. When we talk about employment and AI, the most superficial thing, and it's valid, but you say, okay, it's going to hit jobs, but the reality is much worse than that. And
well, we can't yet call it a reality because it's still looking into the future. But it's this idea of consciousness.
If you look at farmers, for example, if you go even deeper things, if you look at original farmers who literally have their cows out in the fields and their chickens out and etc., their meat is more expensive, obviously, because they take care of their cows and chickens, and it's actually what a farmer is. Nowadays, you have all these massive productions with cows just literally just squeezing themselves in a huge farm, in a huge barn. So there are definitely certain ways that it's already been happening with technology and AI, like
in terms of industry, yes, in terms of consciousness. I'm picking up the consciousness aspect. So we have a question from this gentleman here.
More than a question, hi, my name is Ray. More than a question, I would like to dwell a bit on technology AI versus employment and job loss, something that has been mentioned. Historically, technology, the perception is that technology destroys jobs, but in reality, the way we see how economies develop, technology at the end of the day shifted the economy towards creating new type of jobs. And hopefully, the way I see it, AI would hopefully do the same thing. So in my perspective, I don't think AI in future there will be short-term job losses, but the gain will be long-term better jobs, better fulfilling jobs, and new industries being created from the fact that people have more time to do certain things that today maybe they don't have time to do.
Exactly. Yes, that's a very valid point. In fact, when we spoke before about salaries and employment loss, there is this concept of having a living wage, whereby, well, the source is not necessarily government,
we'll
but
start talking about not a living wage, but we have a life.
yes, as well, to go with that way.
What about the humanity of human beings?
Then again, it has been mentioned that people can be given a sort of stipend by staying at home. From an economic point of view, that only creates inflation. Besides the sociological aspect of doing at home, doing nothing, in economics does not work that way, unfortunately. So we have to create something.
But maybe we can create a new type of economy.
Sorry?
But maybe, I see this as tools. So you can use it if you put legislation and things like that. You can choose what type of economy you can create. Because inflation, because we are in a capitalistic society, right? If you change that,
inflation is
and you
caused
create a new type of society.
by money supply. If you're just
Let's
we can
achieve and change.
Let's assume I'm an lawyer. Let's assume that next year.
We can change.
Let's assume that by next year, I will be replaced by a computer. Let's just assume that. So I need to do something else. Let's assume that the law firm will say, okay, we're not just going to give you a wage, just to give you a wage, just to be nice to you, but you have to be productive.
That's what I mean.
Exactly, I agree with you completely. It's a question of what my productivity will be like. I will start painting oil paintings. Definitely I might be happier. I will have a life.
A picture you would have.
So we shouldn't be afraid of technology. We will lose our jobs.
It's an opportunity. It's also a matter of advancement. This happens all the time, every stage. I mean, when ATMs came in, people lost jobs, because people no longer needed to queue as a cashier. So cashiers lost their jobs, but then they became something else. Internet banking, same thing.
I think the rule of thumb would be.
You have to can't sort of say
AI because of humanity, not in spite of humanity. And I think that would be
But that's not the case. I mean, look, AI is a zero-sum game. At least for you, it's a zero-sum game. Because if we regulate AI, we're going to stifle growth. And we're going to be beaten by places like China that just don't give a crap about anything to do with any kind of social justice. And which means that if we end up at a point where we outlaw something, we say, okay, you can't use AI for this, then you end up in a situation where if guns are outlawed, then only outlaws will have guns, right? So it's a zero-sum game. It's just there's no winning. If we regulate it, then we're gonna fall behind and we're gonna be beaten by the East. And if we don't regulate it, and then all hell's gonna break loose.
So basically, we're prisoners.
Yes, we're prisoners either way. We're prisoners either way. I mean, like, look at the money in your wallet. Like, you think that 20 euro note you have in your wallet is backed by something. It's not. Like, there's no gold backing that. You're a prisoner to the economy of society. You just are. We all are. And if you think that AI is going to come and change the world and it's going to create all sufficiency and that's going to trickle down onto everyone else, I would very much disagree with that statement.
Because I make just one good point. We are very far away from, say, creating a robo-lawyer. Why? Because artificial intelligence machines don't create, they're mostly programs. I was speaking to an expert, said they can't create a new idea.
Again, it's a question of learning and thinking.
Yeah,
Again, when it comes to lawyers, there are so many advanced systems, especially in the US. When I know that, okay, I have a case on these kind of issues, my counterparty lawyer is Jackie, my judge is Claudia, and the expert system will tell me, okay, so Jackie typically argues in this way, Claudia typically likes this kind of arguments or not. So we already have systems like that in place. So again, when it comes to expert systems or legal expert systems, we're so much advanced. Again, in Malta we are Mediterranean, you know, it would be quite difficult to teach, you know,
to get a profile, you know.
But it's quite advanced. It's quite advanced based on language, you know. But again, I think the difference is, and something which we haven't touched upon, and I hope it will be, is that there is the question of learning, thinking. I think the next thing we haven't discussed is feeding, you know, which is sentience. You know, where again the legal issues arise. You know, my dog feels happy, my dog feels pain, so my dog should have rights. I shouldn't kill a dog, you know, and that's where animal rights started evolving. Now, at some point we might be talking about, you know, but my robot, you know, is feeling things. You know, he can feel happy. You know, we're still far away from that, but we'll get there. You know, but again, then the discussion should. Is it through feeling or is it project-based? No, but again, something. Is it ones and zeros? But again, I think again, my dog still has those feelings. He's not a human being, so again,
but with your dog, it's not ones and zeros.
No. I still knew what's failing and
yes.
And on carbon living entity who has the same thing. So why should I make the distinction? But anyway, there we would be thinking about giving rights to dogs, as we already do, and giving rights to robots. But giving rights to another living entity doesn't mean it has a legal personality in itself. It comes back to your question of liability. If my dog bites you, do you sue the dog? Or the owner? You know, and I think there's this whole discussion about AI. If AI screws up, will you sue AI or will you sue the operator of the AI or the producer of the AI, etc., etc.? And I think that is where we are, from a legal perspective, potentially running a little bit too fast. I know that there were discussions, you know, that we should. Saudi Arabia, was it Saudi Arabia who gave citizenship to You know, I don't give citizenship to my dog. Probably he deserves it much more than Sophia. You know, but again, whether it's a gimmick or not. Those are things which.
Then, for example, one of the issues, let's say, with the liability comes up because legally, sort of, for you to be liable for something, for damages, right? You need to have at least foreseeability of the damage that you are going to cause. Now, if you've created something or you're using something and this thing is now taking decisions on its own, and I mean, you yourself, you know, the designer, the user, the manufacturer, none of these people could possibly foresee what this machine has decided to do.
So you sue the machine.
So then who do you sue? Because you can't make
I own my dog. Okay? I couldn't foresee that my dog disliked you in the street. You know, and you know, basically attacked you.
I think there's three models of walking with AIs. Is it the human in control, the human on control, or the human in command? Which I think it differs a lot and kind of.
Yes, but you always had the human part.
Yes, but the kind of the first one, human in the loop, kind of you trained it, job done. So there, I think we're trying to say that in that scenario, the agency is on the AI, which I think it shouldn't, because
it can't.
It can't because legally, I would imagine that you're bound, and if you fail to do, there's repercussions. But repercussions, as in there's prison, there's fines, whatever. But in AI, what repercussions? All these repercussions are emotional somehow.
Again, from an AI perspective, we need to see who is the person suited to be sued. So let's look at something which is quite tangible. Driverless cars. You know, a driverless car hits someone in Texas, or I don't know where it was in the latest episode, you know, and someone got killed. Nobody sued the car.
No, of course.
You know, you sue Tesla or the operator or Uber or, you know, that was somehow
responsible.
Typically, it's again one of the theories. So there are many theories, you know, we can discuss them. One of the theories is the nearest person theory. So who is the nearest person to that object or that application or that artificial intelligence or that DAO or whatever it is, you know, to be able to sue that specific legal person. So far, the drive of the car has no legal person.
Would it be the manufacturer?
By way of example, or the operator of the service.
The thing is, when you're suing for liability, I mean, when you're suing for damages, you have to establish a link, you know, between somebody who did something wrong, who had a duty of care and didn't observe it, and, you know, sort of what actually happened. Now, okay, so let's not say a car, but let's say an app that, you know, sort of that's used for medical diagnosis, you know, I mean, you know, there's no problem, there's no actual defect with the way it was designed, no actual defect with the way it was manufactured, no actual problem or sort of mistake on the end on the doctor's end who was using it, but this thing just sort of decided to start working in such a way, and it gave a diagnosis, and the diagnosis ended up killing somebody, you know, which, you know, you cannot establish a direct link between either sort of, you know, the manufacturer or the designer or the doctor, and then you have a very real problem where nobody can be sued for that.
I disagree because the thing has to be who's all the time on. Kind of the idea that AI is a black box, that's a very legal understanding, and I think it's wrong in the sense that
for the most part it is.
Yeah. No, we should from a tech perspective it is,
but this is the problem. Kind of, where are we getting the data from? We have, as a developer, you have the onus to actually know the data. You have the onus to know the algorithm which you're running, not just download it, open source,
but then if, and I'm asking the question, okay? If you are saying, okay, so what you're saying basically is, at each point in time, the way that this piece of software works has to be explainable. The developer has, at every point in time, be able to explain exactly how. Now, from a technological point of view, is that stifling the development of the technology?
Yes. And then
so this is always the problem.
And I would answer your question historically. So there are principles against based in Norman law, and Norman law has been around for 2,000 years at least, and we're still using it today. You know that if the owner, or if a dog bites anyone, okay, the owner of that dog, okay, is responsible, irrespective if he foresaw that the dog went crazy on the specific day and bit someone. So the liability would still remain with the owner. The question is here that if there is an AI which has been built, let's call it simplified, is owned by someone, okay, and that AI did something which was not foreseeable by the owner, you know, it shouldn't liberate the owner, you know, and find the owner completely not guilty of the events that happened. If I know that I have a dog, and I know that there is this unforeseeable chance that the dog might go crazy because he sniffed something on the road and he bit someone, I should still be responsible because of this unforeseeable thing that the dog has a mind of its own, like potentially AI already does and will do, but I am still responsible for that thing.
But where today, you still need to draft legislation for strict liability, and that means that basically you're going to pass a law which says that if you own this type of technology, then you are always going to be responsible. And then, I mean, if you were a doctor, would you use the technology, you're always responsible? But then it's always
no, but that's how it should be. The fact that I am relying on technology doesn't relieve me from my duties.
Responsibilities.
And responsibilities. So it's always human-centric. I cannot just say, okay, now the AI is handling it. You know?
So maybe the argument should be if you're a driverless car and the driverless car kills someone, then the person responsible is the person in the driverless car, because there should be a manual override and they shouldn't be asleep and they shouldn't be asleep at all. That's illegal.
Or the manufacturer or the operator of the car. Yes. It's not, I cannot sue the car. I cannot say nobody is responsible because my 5-year-old kid died because he was run over by a driverless car. You know, because you know, it wasn't foreseeable. I shouldn't find Tesla responsible because Tesla just released the car on the road and the car did something which Tesla didn't foresee. Then what?
Okay, so let's take a question from the gentleman at the back.
Hi.
Sorry.
So practically, by the way, my name is Werner. I'm a digital designer. So I studied UI/UX as well. I would like to ask a question about singularity. What are your views about singularity and the fact that we live in an age of algorithms? So practically all apps are being programmed to cater towards your likeness, towards your usability, towards your behavior. How will it impact in the long run our evolution as humankind? Because humans, I believe, we evolved throughout curiosity, throughout the unknown. How will it impact us in general, in that case, being in this day and age?
Let's start from the last question. How I think it's a science fiction scenario, in the sense that there's so many things that could change. That to put my finger on one thing, it could be a beneficial one, it could be a less beneficial, or
I think I would go one step earlier, in the sense that, to revert back to my first reply, in the sense that when we're designing AIs, what are we trying to do? And especially for singularity, I think our question should always also be, our AIs, what they're trying to achieve. Is it answering the who are we as humans? What do we function as? Or more in a relational thing? And I think if we design AIs always from a relational point of view, as much as possible we can try to postpone singularity. Especially when singularity is a bit of an unknown. I would also try to echo, what's his name? The UK philosopher, not Boston, whatever. No. Boston, Nick Boston. Who said that kind of we should make sure that any AGI endeavors should be rooted in friendliness. So if there is a leap towards singularity, at least it would be from a friendly perspective to humanity. But I think just shooting in the dark at this stage, no?
I think to answer your question, without saying very, very little, there's a podcast between Joe Rogan and Elon Musk. Exactly. They smoke the split and Tesla stocks went down and everything. It's a 3-hour long thing. I've seen it 4 times. It's amazing and it answers that question really well.
Just continue this question.
Yes.
From my experiences at work with people, especially with young children and teenagers, the impact that it's having on the individual is, I think it has a false sense of self, because these algorithms make you believe that you are something, or that you are attracted to something because of the likeness that you are suggested to like on social media. And this sense, this false sense of self, I think is triggering a lot of anxieties to try to become what is being expected by you through social media. So I don't want to be extremely negative, but the reality is that these algorithms are making you feel something so that ultimately you buy something. Because everything ends up into but they are creating these issues, and but in an extreme way. For example, I feel miserable when I feel left unseen. For example, I spoke to someone and she did not answer, so I feel left unseen. And so I started adding different people on the social media so that I could attract more attention from other people. And this is creating a lot of confusion with regards to who am I with others, how do others perceive me, and how can I be accepted by others through social media. And I think this should be somehow considered.
In fact, there's a higher incidence of depression among youths and suicide rates since the advent of social media. And I'm sure it comes from what the gentleman is saying.
Is it because of social media, or is it because we're more open about depression?
Sorry?
Is it because of social media, or is it because we're more open about depression?
Depression is a big thing, and you cannot think it's because of social media, because it would be, I mean, it's not the same.
I'm not saying that social media is the primary cause of depression, but for sure, today's youngsters,
it causes some depression.
There's cause of some depression, and there is a higher rate of suicide tendency today.
I wouldn't say about depression, but I think it's more about anxiety, which are quite different from each other. Yeah. It is about the level of acceptance of who I am as a person, ultimately.
It's also that the self
is now extended to the digital realm.
Yes, but anxiety, I think that anxiety leads to depression.
But it can also be argued that because of the dawn of social media, the anxiety and depression are more socially acceptable and people talk about them more, therefore the rates aren't actually higher, they're just more accurate, for example. It's just like two different arguments.
In all fairness,
It could be.
social media like Facebook are trying to tackle that issue as well, kind of with their algorithms trying to see if someone is on the edge of actually committing suicide. There's VO-bot, I think, which is a chat.
I think it's more doing that.
Facebook is definitely doing it. So there's kind of these algorithms which help as well. So it's also
That's a very realistic type of artificial intelligence.
It is full on.
Okay, so we have a comment here.
We were talking about liability, and we were saying that someone should be responsible. It's interesting to put it against the possibility of sharing the benefits of AI. So in a way we want to share the benefits between everyone, but at the same time we want to put the guilt on someone sort of. So maybe I'm thinking how can we create some kind of structure where we can share both perhaps. Like we can share the benefits and the guilt.
It's quite difficult.
Yes.
We'll need more wine for that.
There have been discussions, actually, not discussions, sorry, I don't want to sort of mislead. There have been studies about that specifically, actually.
Kind of to answer your question, MIT are doing research with autonomous cars based on human behavior, observed human behavior. So they're trying to map oncoming cars to see if the car is a selfish driver or an altruist driver. And then depending on the traits of the oncoming driver, you cross or not. So somehow there is a bit of a shared guilt, because if the driver all of a sudden changes patterns, you're dying. So there is a bit of a shared guilt there.
My insurance company always thinks there's shared.
As a lawyer, I'm sure you argue like this. No, there's enough, buddy. It wasn't an aircraft.
Do we have any other comments? One final.
Just looking at this from a very negative kind of view. And I always tend to go back in history, and history always rephrases. One of the greatest things ever invented was TV, the telephone, internet. Are we actually the slaves of all these things? And won't AI be the same for us? James once also mentioned to me, the biggest mistake happened to human race is when we stopped traveling, when we stopped being nomads. What's going to happen? Someone mentioned earlier that we're going to have a life, we're going to have money, more hobbies, blah, blah, blah. Look at us. I think we're being less productive than anytime before, because everybody's on his TV, on his apps, or whatever. I think from 8 hours of work, we end up doing maybe, 4 or 5 hours maximum. So that's my comment.
I would say with absolutely everything in this world, food, sex, drugs, exercise, absolutely everything, there is use, misuse, and abuse. And it's down to the individual as to how they choose to treat the situation. Alcohol isn't bad. If you come on a panel and you have a few drinks and you go like loose, it's fine. But if you get shit-faced every day, it's a problem. No?
Yes.
Use, misuse, and abuse. Same thing with social media, same thing with TV, same thing with everything.
But the big frame of all this is what? We all end up lazier.
Yes, we want to.
I mean, I don't know.
We're always finding it easier when we say decide. We never tend to go the hardest way.
I disagree with that entirely. I think it depends on the individual.
Why is obesity becoming such a big problem in kids?
Because people can't self-discipline, because parents don't.
What's going to happen with AI?
People discipline.
Again, with all technology, I think we're losing the ability to think. Think. If we're looking at the TV and we're just accepting what we receive from the TV as being, the Holy Gospel. That is what technology is giving us. We're losing the ability to sit down and think, to decide what's good and bad, but look at what's good and bad, and what's right and wrong, and what's true and false on what we receive, the information we receive. I think AI is a double-edged sword in the sense that it might possibly try and address that if we build it the right way. If we manage to okay, let's speculate, let's assume that we built an AI in our Google feed whereby it will give us, both sides of a story, the black side of the story and the white side of the story, or the plus side of the story, and we need to think, but where do I? But if I'm being bombarded through Facebook and through targeting ads on Facebook that Hillary Clinton is a whore, Hillary Clinton is a whore, Hillary Clinton is a whore, I would say, okay, I'm going to vote Trump. So I think we are still in time whereby we can fix the benefits and the risks of technology in a good sense, and I think AI might be able to do that if we include an obligation on Google saying, okay, if I say, is the NHS broke because we were part of the European Union, then I find two positions, and I would need to come up to my conclusion whether it's this one or that. I think the question is, we're losing the ability to think. We're losing the ability to pick up a book, and read what this philosopher said as opposed to what that philosopher said and say, I agree with that one.
And maybe also further kind of your answer. Remember that we who are today, we're the product